Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Monotype Cup, which is a Great League format where dual-type Pokemon are banned, but we're going to be using a banned Pokemon. That's right, Niantic did make a mistake with the cup, and they forgot to ban Galarian Linoone. And at the time of recording, they still haven't banned it, so if you're watching this, you may be able to use it as well. I ran Galarian Linoone for a couple sets on stream, and had an absolute blast with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and check out a banned Pokemon in the Monotype Cup. Hopping into the first match, picking up the Dream Lead, Galarian Linoone into Lickitung. Opponent save switches into Surfetched, and Surfetched will immediately be answered by Shadow Hypno. As long as I switched fairly quickly, I should be able to Confusion down without having to commit a shield in this matchup, and that's quite nice, as being on shield parity as well as having switch advantage, I should be in a very good spot here. Back in comes the Lickitung. Lickitung is going to have to deal with not one but two Fire Punches from the Hypno. They're not going to shield a thing. They know that they are in a very difficult spot going up against Galarian Linoone. Fire Punch number 2 will be no shielded. Lickitung gets the farm down, and in comes Galarian Linoone. In the back, it's a Shadow Machamp, and I quickly switch out of there into Kofagrigus. Kofagrigus does extremely well into Machamp, as the Shadow Claws are tearing through their HP. I will commit a shield. They go for the Rock Slide. Even though they don't have payback, it is worth it to double shield here, because I need to ensure that my Linoone does not take any more counter damage. I continue to farm up. Opponent tries to go for the CMP tie, but I'm not going to let that happen. They go for Rock Slide number 2. I'm looking for the farm down. They will make a last second charge move here, but this should only be the Cross Chop. Cross Chop, not going to KO. Down goes Machamp, and back in comes Lickitung. I'm firing off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse will be shielded by the Lickitung, and in comes Galarian Linoone. Linoone is triple resisting the licks from Lickitung, and the nice thing is a second Body Slam is not going to be able to KO here. I'm firing off Body Slam number 1 into Lickitung. I will need to make it to a second. Lickitung will be able to outpace here. But the nice thing is, since the licks do absolutely no damage, that Body Slam will not KO. Galarian Linoone able to hang on. Body Slam takes down the Lickitung, and that is a good game. Picking up a terrible lead in the next match, Galarian Linoone into Shadow Machamp. I save switch into Shadow Hypno, and the opponent is going to respond with Kofagrigus. Despite the type disadvantage, Hypno can do surprisingly well here. The confusion damage really adds up. They go for the Dark Pulse. I will shield everything, and now I'm building up to the back-to-back Fire Punches. My opponent will have to match shields if they want to keep switch. Fire Punch gets them low, and I'm going for Fire Punch number 2. Opponent has to shield this, or I take switch. Opponent lets that go, and that is incredibly good for me. In the back, they have Hypno, so once their Kofagrigus is out of the way, honestly, they're pretty weak to mine. I farm up a little extra, hoping to bluff a Shadow Ball, and I do get the shield. They're going to get a massive farm down. I'm going to send in Galarian Linoone. Opponent sends in Machamp. The fact that they didn't throw energy gives me hope that they're not running Focus Blast. Because if Hypno is not running Focus Blast, they're going to have a terrible day going up against Galar Linoone. I'm looking to overfarm and fire off the Dark Pulse. This is resisted, but it will be lethal. Machamp gets KO'd. In comes Hypno. Hypno not wasting any time. They're firing off a charge move right away. They're running Shadow Ball, and if that's their nuke move, odds are they're probably not running Focus Blast. Just to be safe, I will shield up here, and we learn their second move is Thunder Punch, and this game is over. Galarian Linoone just has a dominating matchup against the Hypno that does not have Focus Blast. I'm already at another Body Slam here. Body Slam number 2 is going to be shielded by the Hypno. I continue to farm up. Hypno does have a bunch of energy here, but you're going to see the Thunder Punch just does not do enough. Thunder Punch connects, and the opponent concedes the match. Tough lead again in the next match, Galarian Linoone into Primeape. Same game plan as the Machamp lead, immediate save switch into the Shadow Hypno. My opponent actually takes a Confusion on the Primeape, which is quite nice for me, and then they're going to respond with Kofagrigus. Saw a lot of Kofagrigus in these battles, and Hypno, as I mentioned, can do quite well there. They're already into the yellow health, and I'm at back-to-back Fire Punches. Opponent is going to shield the first. This Fire Punch will not KO, but it will get them very low. Fire Punch is going to be double shielded by my opponent, And honestly, at this point, I'm perfectly fine with letting the Hypno go. I'm just going to look to farm to a ton of energy with Lanoon, as Lanoon is going to be absolutely walling Coffin's energy. Opponent is going to give up Switch and send in Seaking, and I'm just going for the gunk shot here. I know it's going to hit extremely hard. Lanoon, farm it up, making it to the Body Slam. Seaking will not even get to throw a charge move, as Body Slam will KO. When they send in Primeape, I'm just going to immediately send in the Coffin, because they're going to be Switch locked, and I am not. In comes the Primeape, I send in the Coffin. I do tank a Night Slash, so I am going to let this through. Opponent running Ice Punch for the Dragons instead of Night Slash, and unfortunately, that's going to be game over. Kofagrigus makes the Shadow Ball. That's going to KO the Primeape. They send in their own Coffin, and that's game over. Hopping into the next match, sitting Galarian Lanoon into Umbreon. If I see Umbreon anywhere on this team, I definitely want it to be here. The nice thing is, even though my Snarls are resisted, I'm able to hit for neutral damage with Body Slam, and Lanoon charges energy very quickly. Body Slam connects, opponent is going to give up Switch and send in their Kanto Muck. Muck will be answered with Shadow Hypno. Dark Pulse would absolutely shred the Hypno, so I will commit a shield here, and they go straight for the Dark Pulse. I'm looking to farm up and go for the Fire Punch to deny them the opportunity to make another charge move. Fire Punch will be shielded. Opponent willing to give up shields to try and take Switch. But again, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm just going to double shield the Hypno and fully farm down. Unfortunately, the Umbreon is going to get a lot of energy here if they want to, but the good news for me is they left close to 100, so they can't really afford to overfarm. Maybe they could go for like an undercharge and a farm down play, but they just elect to get rid of the Hypno. I send in Lanoon, and it's a Shadow Kanto Ninetales in the back. I'm going for the Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse is slightly cheaper in energy than Shadow Ball. Dark Pulse will be shielded. Ninetales continues to farm. I believe they will need an Overheat to KO. Maybe I'm in Weather Ball range. They're firing off a charge move. It's the Weather Ball. Weather Ball will not KO, and I win CMP with the Dark Pulse. That is massive. That gets them low. They're stuck throwing a charge move here, and that's going to be game over. In comes Lanoon, it gets the Snarl down, and I just have so much energy here to take on the Umbreon. I'm going for Body Slam number 1. Umbreon now below half health, and I'm going for Body Slam number 2 here. This should be getting the Umbreon close to the red health. They are now deep into the red, and even though I don't have shields, I should tank the last resort. Opponent is running Psychic on their Umbreon. That is so unfortunate for them, and they concede the match as the Body Slam is thrown. Picking up a neutral lead in the next match, Galarian Lanoon into Kanto Grimer. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start and go for the Body Slam. The Snarl Body Slam combination is just absurdly spammy, so I'm going to fire off the Body Slam, save switch into Shadow Hypno. My opponent is going to respond with, you guessed it, another Kofagrigus. Kofagrigus is absolutely everywhere in this meta. They fire off a Shadow Ball, and Hypno will commit the shield. I'm looking to make it to the back-to-back Fire Punches here. Let's put some pressure onto this Kofagrigus. Fire Punch will be shielded by that Kofa, and I'm going for Fire Punch number 2. Again, we've seen this does not KO, but it will get them low. Opponent is going to let that through. I continue to farm with the Hypno, and if I want to here, I can shield and take switch, as the Confusion would KO. So I decided to do just that. In the back, it's a Slurpuff, and suddenly things are looking dire, as Slurpuff up energy and up a shield is incredibly deadly. I'm forced to send in the Kofagrigus, because at the very least I only take neutral here, but with an energy lead, they're going to be able to outpace me. They fire off an energy ball, and it looks like a second energy ball is going to be able to KO me. My hope is that they no-shield this for some reason, but they know that Slurpuff has a lot of play here. Slurpuff is going to be able to outpace and make another charge move here. They go for the energy ball. That will be lethal. I send in Lanoon. Lanoon farming up, but I'm able to outpace the Slurpuff. That is massive. Body Slam will KO. It all comes down to this. Can I get rid of the Grimer? Grimer firing off a charge move here. They saved energy from earlier. It's the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb gets me low. Lanoon dies with a Body Slam as we lose a heartbreaking game. We've got a neutral lead in the next match, Galarian Lanoon into Shadow Dragonair. I'm able to outpace in this matchup, so I will just go for the Body Slam as soon as I get it to get some chip damage or a shield advantage before I send in Hypno. Body Slam connects, in comes Shadow Hypno. Opponent sends in Kofagrigus. What else would it be? Kofagrigus feels like it was on basically every team when I was battling. They fire off the Shadow Ball, I will commit the shield, and again, same as I always do, I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back fire punches here. Opponent has to shield one if they want to keep switch, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They will shield the first. I'm going for fire punch number 2. Opponent is going to let that through. Hypno looking for the farm down. Kofagrigus will fire off a last-second charge move, but I can shield, win switch, and leave with an ice punch loaded to hit the Dragonair. Opponent thinking about it. Do they send in the Dragonair? They do not. They send in Wobbuffet, and Wobbuffet is going to get absolutely obliterated by Kofagrigus. I aggressively switch into my Coffin to bring back out the Dragonair. Dragonair will go for the Aqua Tail, but I'm hoping I will be able to get the farm down, and I do. Oh my goodness, Dragonair with a sliver of HP does not make the move, and now Wobbuffet is in a world of pain going up against Kofagrigus. Kofagrigus makes it to the Shadow Ball. This will hit for massive super effective damage onto the Wobbuffet, and it's a CMP tie as well. They're forced to go for Mirror Coat. That just does absolutely nothing, and the opponent concedes the match. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Galarian Linoone into Lickitung. Bad matchup for the opponent. They're going to save switch into Surfetched. I look to switch into the Hypno. I accidentally overtap, and I give my opponent an energy head start. That's definitely not ideal. Surfetched will fire off the Night Slash into the Hypno. Hypno able to farm down before they make their next charge move. Looks like that may not have been the greatest IV Surfetched. Opponent is going to send back in the Lickitung. And again, I lead this with energy, so I can apply double fire punches, and I should be able to get them close to the yellow health. I'm able to make it to fire punch number 2, putting a lot of pressure onto the Lickitung. Lickitung is going to no shield. They are now in the yellow, and I can send in Linoone. In comes Shadow Machamp. The switch clocks were slightly misaligned there, so I'm forced to fire off a Body Slam just to burn my timer. And now I can send in Kofagrigus. Kofagrigus farming up. I am going to respect the payback here because payback would one-shot. Opponent is running Rock Slide on the Machamp, and at this point, I should have this game won. I'm firing off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse will be lethal. Opponent is going to let that through. They are trusting in Lickitung to try and win this game. Lickitung can fire off the Power Whip here. This will deal some solid damage onto the Kofagrigus. Kofagrigus going for the Body Slam, looking to burn the switch clock and send back in Linoone. That is going to grab the final shield. Kofagrigus making it to the Dark Pulse. That is massive. Switch clock should be up after this move. In comes Linoone. Linoone makes it to the Body Slam, and the opponent will concede the match as the charge move KOs. Picking up a fairly neutral lead in the next match, Galarian Linoone into Shadow Kanto Ninetales. As with other neutral leads, I'm just going to go for a Body Slam, get some chip damage or a shield, and then send in Shadow Hypno. In comes Shadow Hypno. Opponent sends in Umbreon, and this is absolutely awful for me. I do need to bait out the Umbreon with this team, but Hypno is just such a terrible matchup going into the Umbreon that Umbreon honestly might sweep here. They go for the Foul Play. That does so much damage. I'm able to make it to another Fire Punch, but my Confusions do absolutely nothing. So even though I've landed multiple Fire Punches, they're still not even in the yellow. They are finally in the yellow health here. Umbreon looking for the full Snarl Down. I'm firing off the Fire Punch. Fire Punch will connect. Umbreon gets the full farm down. I'm sending in Linoone. They send in the Ninetales, but my opponent saving energy unfortunately means it's probably game over. And to add insult to injury, I lose CMP to the Ninetales. You have got to be kidding me. Yeah, unfortunately, this game is so over. I send in Kofagrigus, looking for the farm down here. I can't really afford to shield. The Umbreon is loaded. They go for the overheat. That's going to be goodbye, Kofagrigus. And unfortunately, I'm not even going to get to see their third Pokemon here. Umbreon in the back to absolutely crush the Hypno Save Switch. Just put this team into absolute shambles. I have 2 shields, but there's not really a point in using them. I'm going to no-shield the Foul Play, and that's game over. Hopping into the final match, we've got some extreme spice. Galarian Linoone versus Zoroark. Opponent save switches into Wobbuffet, and Wobbuffet's day of reckoning has come as in comes Kofagrigus. This is a crushingly dominant matchup for Kofagrigus, as Mirror Coat does absolutely nothing, and neither do the double resistant counters. I'm looking to massively overfarm, go for the Shadow Ball, and once that lands, I'm going to fully commit to the farm down. Because even though Zoroark is going to resist all of my charge moves here, Zoroark is so glassy that I should be able to KO with double Shadow Ball. I'm able to get the full farm down here. Opponent they're thinking about it. They're probably going to wait their switch clock here and then send in Zoroark. In comes Zoroark, and I'm firing off the Shadow Ball. This Shadow Ball, keep in mind, is resisted, but it still does like 2/3 of their health. Oh my goodness. I'm now going for the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is going to be shielded by Zoroark. Zoroark is going to get the farm down. I'm going to send in Lanoon. In the back, it's a Shadow Machamp. Hypno looking for the farm down. They do not make the payback. And at this point, this game is over. Hypno looking for the confusion down. I can't quite get it. They go for the foul play with Zoroark. I'm looking for the farm down with Lanoon. They make the last second charge move. I'm looking for the 2 shield flex. It's only the foul play. And that is a good game. All in all, I had an absolute blast getting to use Galarian Lanoon. Niantic, actually, I'm looking at a tweet just now saying that apparently, while I was recording, they did finally go ahead and ban Galarian Lanoon. So, Monotype Cup will again be filled exclusively with Monotype Pokemon. I definitely wish this is something that they could do before they release a cup, but hey, I got some fun battles out of it, so I guess we'll take it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.